strategic move that Eddie is making for AJ. Why are you not thinking, let's get him set up for kind of animal?
If that was years and years and years ago. Like, Clarissa is a way different fighter from when she was back in the
Thanks to those joining me live and to those that have been joining me on our
defenses that she's had to have recently. You know, she's pulled people.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the RoundTable about tribalism. I don't think tribalism is necessarily bad. I just don't think it has to be.
I don't know what he think he sees or what he think he know. But he going to the hospital, bro. Like, bro, you not winning that fight.
You guys mentioned, I think, D-Style, you mentioned him versus Regis Prograis. I'd love, that sounds like a...
Old, I don't need you, you know, and PBC and others, in my opinion, it's like, oh, this is my guy. Like, there's a relationship.
Flat out, it's tough, and we call box, and we go to the end of the round, and then...
That would say, what do you mean by acting black? That's a fair question, but a participant of trash talk knows...
And they're announcing a fight 3-4 months from now. And he ain't going to fight. I bet you anything. He's not going to fight somebody as good as John Wayne. And thanks to those joining us live and those who have joined us on the archive D-Style here. This is the 190th edition of the Round Table. Make sure you hit the like button if you're listening on the archive. Got quite a show for you today. A lot of topics to talk about, from Bam, defeating Gallo, Teofimo Lopez, the impression after Shakur Stevenson will be back, and so much more. Being joined by the one and only Joe B from Ringside Report. How's it going? Next week, check out the Roundtable on my channel, D-Style Boxing. And of course, we have the one and only Sullivan from the Spit Bucket, and as well as Mr. IOTBA from the Spit Bucket as well. As y'all know, he's on that bullshit again. All right. Let's go ahead and get this one started. So much time. Let's start with the one and only Teofimo Lopez. He fought Claggett over in Miami, Florida. And I'll describe it as, it's weird, because people might be like, they might scratch their heads when I say this, but I feel you won every round. But for some reason, he didn't quite impress me for what I expect from him. This is my opinion. I don't think he made a case for, like, oh my God, we really got to see him fight Bud, or I just don't feel that way. That's how I felt about it. Mr. Solomon, talk to us, brother. What you think of his performance?
So yeah, it was a Teofimo. You know, as of late, we've been getting a tell of two Teos, is what I've been saying. You know, we have the Lomachenko Teo, the Richard Comey Teo, the Josh Taylor Teo, where he comes out and you're just like, this guy is going to take over the sport. But then you see the performances where it's not the big name, and it looks flat. Yes, kudos to Teofimo Lopez. Unanimous decision. He won every round, you know, arguably. But what I failed to see was adjustments. It was almost copy and paste round after round. There weren't quality rounds. Teo was getting touched. The crowd was growing restless. I'm sure they saw the breaking news from Bam Rodriguez's sensational performance. But he just never took it to that next level. And again, it left the public, it left social media, it left media just feeling like just flat again. There's nothing in me that thinks Teo can chase Bud. And I don't know that Teofimo Lopez, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that he's the best fighter in his division. So, left me feeling flat. I love when I see Teofimo Lopez perform how we know he can perform, but it's just very underwhelming.
Chabib, I thought he won just about every round, but yet for some reason I just didn't feel impressed. But how did you feel about it?
Did win every round, but there just seems to be a little bit of the spark missing. I have yet to see that Teofimo Lopez that we saw against Lomachenko. And if you go back and you look at that fight, that was a very comprehensive performance, very methodical performance, great game plan, used the jab, you know, exceptionally well in that fight. Moving forward from that fight, though, he seemed to have abandoned the jab a little bit and just kind of throwing power shots, not always putting shots together, really laying back and going into that counter punch mode, trying to wait, you know, for the guy to come to him and wait for the mistakes to be made, not trying to create the mistakes, not try to open the guy up like he used to in the past. And there seems to be a little bit of power missing at 140 as well. And again, he was winning every round against Claggett, but he was nicking these rounds. He wasn't winning all of them like really decisively. Claggett was competitive in these rounds, and he was just being outworked. But Teo did hurt Claggett in 2 rounds. I think it was like 7. I want to say either 7. I think it was 7 to 8 where he really hurt Claggett, but he just couldn't get him out of there. And one thing also with Teo is he doesn't really like to fight on the inside. So I think a guy like Liam Paro, who's pretty good on the inside, I think he could give him problems because Liam Paro is real quick, right? And he can move in and out very well. When he gets on the inside, he can run off quick combinations, just kind of step around you or turn you. So I think that would be a challenge. But the division is wide open right now, especially what happened with Devin Haney. I thought Devin Haney was the man, and he still may very well be. If he can rebound from this loss, I think, before the Ryan Garcia fight, I would have picked him to beat Teofimo Lopez. I don't know where his head's at right now. And then I see him. Looks like he weighs about 170 pounds right now. He looks really bloated up. So who knows what's going to happen with him? But my guy right now at 140 is Liam Paro. I like what I saw from Liam Paro, and I have liked what I saw from Liam Paro. I just think he has a lot of versatility. This is a guy that can, has a great jab. He can hit, hold his own on the outside, pretty good on the mid range, and I really love the way he works and grinds it out hard on the inside. I love inside fighters, so that's why I like this guy. But I do think Teofimo Lopez's name is still it's still in the hat, and you could argue that he's still number 1, 2, or 3, right? If you want to say he's number 1, you can even make that argument. But again, this the fights have to happen, and he needs to get another big fight. And hopefully, when he does get another big fight, he'll raise his game, and we'll see that the best version of Teofimo Lopez.
Mr. IOTBA, he landed over 300 punches. He won just about every round, but most people were not impressed. How did you feel about it?
This is the thing right here. Shout out to Teofimo Lopez, right? I think this guy really get a lot of bad attention his way, and I think the microscope be on him a lot more. I think because of his actions and things that he say or things that his father say. So I think the microscope just be on him a little bit too much. But like you stated, D-Style, Teofimo Lopez won every round, whether if it was by a little or whether it was by a lot. He won every round of that fight. And we talk about Steve Claggett. People need to do their homework on this guy. This is a guy who's never been finished. So name me one fighter he's fought who finished him. Now, did Teo look as impressive? No. But at the end of the day, he got the W. And in this sport, it's all about getting the W. And what Teo has done, in his career and still doing now, we got to take that in hand, right? This is a guy who's moved up, getting comfortable in a new way. He done been through his trials and tribulations, and he's still getting the job done. Was it his most impressive performance? No, but he got the job done. And I think Teofimo Lopez, will look at this fight and look at the guy who he fought in Steve Claggett, knowing the type of endurance that this guy have. I think he was a triathlon or something. So we know this guy motor is on high. And whether Teo was not being able to fight on the inside or his power didn't look there at times, right? We got to thank Steve Claggett. This was his first opportunity for a world championship fight. So this guy wasn't coming in this ring to lay down. Now, people will say they wasn't impressed. See, a lot of these people don't really watch boxing and don't really know who Steve Claggett is. They think, Teofimo Lopez versus Steve Claggett. Teo should just go wipe the floor of him and knock him out. And when they don't see him do that and they see him win the fight, but the rounds are edged out and he have some rounds that he win clearly, people looking at him like, what are you doing? You're Teofimo Lopez. But these are the people who didn't know about this guy before the fight happened.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I'll say this. You put Claggett in the ring with Isaac Cruz, Claggett's going to sleep. Right? He puts him out. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, Isaac Cruz, Pitbull Cruz puts Claggett to sleep. I wonder what the chat thinks. You guys agree with what I just said? I think he put him to sleep, quite frank. And I'll tell you what else. I like Isaac Cruz's chances against Teofimo Lopez. I like those chances a lot. I think he'll get on the inside. I think he's a compact target, and I think Teo showed that when a guy compacts himself and he comes inside, he has a little bit of trouble with it, right? And I just don't know if he'll be able to deal with that. It's a fight I personally would like to see for Teofimo Lopez myself. So we will see what is next. But that's what I think. I think Isaac Cruz puts him to sleep. Claggett in a way.
Oh no, go ahead. No. I was just going to chime in and just say, it's such a lazy, it's an easy thing, but I just can't explain it with Teo. You're seeing a lot on social media. He performs to the level of his opposition. This isn't a team sport. We see that a lot in sports. And like Regis mentioned, Claggett came to win a belt. But I don't know what it is about Teo. When you see other elite fighters, you always say, "Oh, who is he fought?" Or for example, I know we're going to get into Bam here in a bit, but he fought an old guy. But look how he beat the old guy. So when Teo's in here with these guys that are lesser opposition, I say lesser in air quotes, he just has to be able to elevate himself to look like the creme de la creme, and we still haven't seen that. I don't know what it is. It may be if he gets uncomfortable in there, he's panicking, which Isaac Cruz will make Teofimo Lopez uncomfortable. So I can't put my finger on Teofimo yet. I haven't been able to figure him out. He confuses me. Every time he fights, the fight doesn't look anything like I expected. So I think there's some dangers to that, man. As he's moving up in weight, as he's fighting better opposition, the man is obviously superior as a superior athlete. But he can't just rely on pure athleticism anymore, and he's going to have to dig deep to find that next level that I believe he has. I just don't know if we're going to see it, man.
Okay. Well, here's what I'll say. Calix says this a lot, and I do agree with this, that when all the chips are down and everyone counts Teofimo Lopez out, when he's the underdog, when nobody thinks he could do it, is when he rises to the occasion for whatever reason. And that just – Claggett's just not that fight. Good fighter, right? But not. This just isn't going to be the guy that everyone's going to say, "Oh man, he's going to beat Teofimo Lopez." So I would like to see how Teo rises to the occasion. If people start saying Isaac Cruz should stop him, if people say Tank Davis could beat him, if people could say whoever could beat him, then we'll see if he rises to the occasion. I will say this though, one more thing. With all that said, everyone thinks Crawford would destroy him, and I agree with them.
Who did Pitbull Cruz like? I like Pitbull, but D-Style, who did he really rise to the occasion against?
Well, I meant Teo. Teo's the guy that rises.
No. But I know. I'm saying, who did Pitbull Cruz rise to the occasion against? Rolly Romero?
Tank Davis.
Tank Davis. We knew Tank.
One-handed Tank.
His hand, but like, and we knew that, like, give Pitbull credit, he was able to stay there, but it was one hand. Then he beat Rolly Romero. I know Pitbull, the fun-loving guy, one of them pit bulls you like to rub on, and he is a good fighter. But Teo is way more proven than a pit bull. Now, if you think he'll beat him, cool. But I don't know about that.
I think he can beat him. What I'll say is this. Was this before or after Tank Davis was swinging that hand? Like he was swinging that. He was throwing power punches with that hand until Pitbull Cruz's guard blocked those shots. Okay, and he hurt his hand in the process of doing it. That's what I'll say to that.
We can go. I have a question on the Teo thing before y'all pivot, though. We're throwing out all these gigantic names, right? We had Brian Norman Jr. on a couple weeks ago, and we had Brian Norman Sr. on yesterday, and he said the fight's a done deal, damn near a done deal. If Teo decides to move up, everything is there in place. And like I said, I'm quoting you, it's done, is what he said yesterday. So how do you think he fares with somebody like a Brian Norman Jr. who doesn't have the big name, and we see Teo not perform well when the name isn't there?
Brian Norman Jr. made me a lot of money in the last fight. I bet him to. I bet him to win that fight. I bet him to win by stoppage. I knew he was going to destroy Santillan. I like Santillan, but people slept on Norman Jr. I don't. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Teofimo fights Brian Norman Jr. next. Anyway. But that's a dangerous fight for Teo. That's a dangerous fight for anybody. Period. Mario Munguia, how's it going?
What's up, Mario?
Spit Bucket in the house. Beeb in the house. D-Style in the house. Yo, this is a popping 4th of July, or I guess 3rd of July show. I'm still feeling patriotic, though. So
well, we want you to give us your take. But as Homeboy here would be saying.
I love
it.
But
shout out to Uncle Sam, by the way.
Yeah, that's dope.
And Mario, what are your thoughts on Teofimo Lopez's performance? Were you underwhelmed? Did you have a silver lining to it, or how did you feel about it?
I definitely have a silver lining to it. Like, I'm not going to come on here and pretend like it was one of his better performances, or even reminiscent of anything that we saw in his meteoric rise up the 135 ranks. That said, if you knew who Steve Claggett was going in, then you should have had a sort of expectation about the fight. Listen, as good as Teo is, and as great as fighters are that have the ability to go out there and smell blood and attack and find the finish, which is a skill trait, it's not something you can always do if the other person is unwilling. Now, I'm not saying Steve Claggett covered up all night. I'm not saying that he fought in nothing but a defensive fight, but he is the guy that he was in the ring that night. And that's just a difficult guy to put any sort of firm, power, clean flush in a place that'll make him go out, even for a moment. Okay. I thought Teo looked great early and then just okay throughout the fight. There was never a moment where like he stepped on this gas. And I think it's because, or at least I hope it's because Teo knows the game now well enough to realize, you know what? When I was killing everybody, they were calling me a monster. I had one shaky performance. Everybody shit on me and washed me away as a one-hit wonder. The very next day at the office, I had a great performance, and all that changed. So it's just, what have you done for me lately? He knows that. He thought to himself, I'm going to go out. I'm going to get this guy. I've won every round. I'm going to finish this fight, and we'll get to the next piece of business. And I think Teo has fought enough and shown us that he's willing to fight the dangerous fights, that he deserves those types of performances without us totally giving up on him.
Okay.
All right. Facts.
I like it, man. Hard to argue.
So do you think, Mario, like, because I've given myself the self-assessment, like maybe it's my expectations, like the way I envision Teo, like styling, I'll use that word, on Claggett and putting on a phenomenal like performance and everybody just being like, whoa, and then maybe getting a big stoppage or something. Like, you think people's expectations like were just different to what he actually did, and that's where the criticism is coming from?
Absolutely. You said it perfectly. And here's the thing. It's not a bad thing. Teo shouldn't be upset at all. You know, if he's looking at this with the kind of optics that you need, right? Outside of the mess of social media and without trying to keep a pulse on the narrative itself, right? You look at it and you say, people think I'm exciting. People expect this kind of excitement from me. And unlike hardcores who have elephant memories, which is to say that they remember everything, right? Casual fans don't. And they're going to forget about this fight quicker than anybody, you know? And so all it's going to take is that name to associate with Teo, and the excitement pops off again. So you're right. It is the discrepancy between what we expectations, you know, that meme that we always see floating around, and reality, what actually happened. And that discrepancy is the focus right now after the fight. And that's fair. That's fair. But let's see in 2 months what that focus is. Does that night determine who Teo is moving forward? No, because we've had other nights that were sluggish that we felt might be determining. Now, you can argue about the power moving up, but then my point would be, does it really make a difference when it looks like mostly everybody coming up from that weight division's power isn't really transitioning the exact same way?
All right. Now we're going to go ahead and proceed and talk about somebody from Texas, down San Antonio, like, you know what I mean? The one and the only Jesse Bam Rodriguez, trained by Robert Garcia. He fought one of my favorite fighters, who unfortunately lost, and Gallo Estrada, who's still a legend, still a future Hall of Famer. And this is yet another Hall of Famer that Bam Rodriguez, at only the age of 24, has, defeated. So what a great resume already. Most people are putting him top 5 pound for pound. He's definitely getting, and I think he has earned all the praise he's getting, at least in my opinion. Not only did he beat Gallo Estrada, he dominated the fight. Even got knocked down, but got up and didn't panic and just stayed the course, continued the game plan, and went on to knock out Gallo Estrada by a vicious body shot. And Gallo did not get up from that body shot. He literally just stood over him, which was a sight to see. That is the brutal sport of boxing. Mr. IOTB, what you think of the performance? And is Bam Rodriguez, what do you see him compared to all the greats in boxing right now, as of right now?
I mean, he getting there. He getting there. I love Bam Rodriguez. I love the road. Yeah, he getting there. I love the road he on. But like, let's not like before I talk about Bam Rodriguez, can we talk about Robert Garcia?
Sure.
Like, we must put some respect on Robert Garcia's name, man. It's look, this guy been doing this for a long time, right? And he's always in the mix, or he always bring these fighters up like Bam Rodriguez, and he turn them into something that's different, bro. So first off, I got a big dog salute Robert Garcia, who a lot of people need to be putting more respect on this guy's name than he getting. But like I stated, Bam Rodriguez, he getting there. I love what he doing. He elevating. He doing what he's supposed to do right now. He's looking impressive. Like I said, the guy he fought was older. We know he's a Hall of Famer, but as a young guy, you got to go to them type of guys, right? And you have to send them, on a yellow brick road, right? And he's doing that, and he's doing it in sensational fashion. Now, what I caught with that fight, Estrada dropped him, right? And that was something that was mind blowing to see. Not saying that it don't happen in boxing, but this is Jesse Bam Bam Rodriguez right here, who everybody is saying he top 5 pound for pound now. So that's the only minor error I take. I just think he need to go back and work on that. But do I think this guy is sensational? Do I think it was a sensational performance? Do I think Scott could be the limit? Yes, I absolutely think so. You just got to continue to put the hard work in.
So who would you say is just the obvious names like Crawford, probably Usyk, and who would you put ahead of him? Like, if you were talk pound for pound, like, who would be ahead of him right now?
Don't let me down.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Y'all can hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear, but I'm gonna say what I said. I heard your question. I can't hear y'all, but just listen. Like I say, he right there in the mix. Like, you could put him anywhere from, like, in my opinion, 7 to 10, right? Because you got these other guys who've been established a little bit longer. Even though Bam doing what he doing, I just think you got like the Crawfords, the Usyks, you even got the Shakur Stevensons. Like, is we gonna say that Bam Rodriguez is, better than the Javante Tank Davis right now?
Yes.
Can we say that? So, like I said, I got him like 7 through 10. If you got him higher, I'm not knocking you, because what we seeing out of Bam Rodriguez, he's showing everybody from wherever you at to across the pond. He is the absolute truth.
Okay. All right. Can you hear us right now? I think sometimes when someone gets a phone call, they got to jump out and jump back in, but it is what it is. He just jumped out. He'll be back in a little bit. Joe Beebe!
Oh, man.
Where do you put, like as far as fighter in the sport, do you personally put Bam up there with the best in the sport, or is he on his way, or is he overrated to you, or is he underrated? How do you feel about it? And what do you think of his performance?
Yeah. You know, I hate these pound for pound conversations, but for the sake of the discussion, I do think you can put him in the conversation. I think he's close. Is he Crawford? No. Is he Usyk? No. Is he Canelo? No. Is he Inoue? No. But again, he's climbing the ladder. He's definitely, among the best fighters in the world, still in his prime. And for him to be as good as he is, just the intelligence in the ring and just the instincts and just the versatility, just having that not just the intelligence, but the patience, the poise, all of it to go along with it. And on top of that, the guy can punch and he can set that power up and he can open his opponent up. So his ability to create, his ability to adapt, it's beyond his years. And a lot of times, many times in history of boxing, the little guys don't always get their shine, right? But every now and then there comes a guy that comes along and he brings shine to the division. Inoue did it. We remember back in the day, we had Carbajal, we had Chiquita Gonzalez. Those are the two guys that they were the first flyweights to ever get $1 million purses, right? So I think Bam can follow in the footsteps of those guys. I'm not gonna obviously jump the gun with that comparison right now, but you see where I'm going with it. So yeah, I love watching Bam. I think most people that do watch Bam, if you're watching for the first time, whatever, I think you're going to become a fan of his. And I really can't say anything bad about Bam Rodriguez. I don't think you really can. And I'm hanging on the edge of my seat every time the guy fights. And every time I know he's on the schedule, I'll make sure that I'm definitely going to set some time aside and watch him. Definitely.
Sure. Okay. All right. And Mario Munguia from Infighting Hub, talk to us. What do you think of his performance, and where do you see him, for the sake of lack of a better term, in the pound for pound here?
Okay. So I'm going to give a list of the following fighters that I feel I could not argue against, or I couldn't argue Bam being ahead of. Now, this is in no particular order. I'm just going to say the names as they come to me. Crawford, Usyk, Canelo, Inoue, and that's it. And for my money, and while Mr. IOTA or BA was a great and very fair and unbiased point, he made the point as well that he could see someone having him further down. So to explain, anyone that I haven't mentioned, I could make an argument against you, or not, well, like whoever, so if somebody came to me and said, well, I think it's Teo's got that 5th spot. Okay, well, let's get ready for a debate, because even though I think your point's valid, I can debate that. You think it's the Charlos? Well, I'll crush you if you think it's the Charlos. You think it's Loma, you think it's whoever you think it is, Haney. I have the points that I feel confident I can beat you. I think the person that would come back most is Tank. To that, I would say, where is Estrada's win on Tank's resume? Where is Rungsvai's win on Tank's resume? Where is Cesar Martinez's win on Tank's resume? Tank has proven he is exciting. He is good for the sport. He is. Maybe even Brian Garcia, maybe, but honestly, I give Sonny Edwards way more credit in terms of ability right now. You could make all these points and we can have these debates. They're subjective. That's why Beep said he doesn't like these conversations. And I understand. I don't hate him anymore. I used to run away from them. I don't anymore because they're subjective. And I know that. And I know we don't have to agree to move on watching and enjoying boxing together. However, it comes down to the simple point of being able to debate a name. I feel like right now I can debate Bam Rodriguez as the number 5 pound for pound fighter in the world, and there isn't a name that comes to mind. And I went live on this yesterday, and no one has challenged it thus far successfully. That is definitively ahead of Bam Rodriguez right now. Top 5 pound for pound. Changed my mind.
Let's go with Mr. Solomon. Talk to us, brother. What you think of his performance, and where do you see him amongst the greats right now?
Man, this one was tough to be last. This one was real hard to be last. So a couple of things that I noted that I wanted to touch on. Beeb, it's cool you mentioned Michael Carbajal. I put a tweet out saying Bam. I think Bam is my favorite little guy since Carbajal. I'm loving what I see out of the guy. I loved IOTBA's unbiasedness, but I completely disagree with it. And I love Mario's points. I hate these conversations only if I'm talking to somebody who feels pound for pound is absolute. But if it's guys like us where we can talk about it and share our opinions, look, guys, I don't have a problem with putting Bam anywhere from 1 through 4 without even blinking. I can make the argument against Canelo. I can make the argument. Here's what I even asked this to Stephen, Coach Breadman yesterday. I feel like I can almost make the argument against Usyk just because these two things. When I think pound for pound, I think about right now. Yes, it's easy to talk resume. It's easy to gloss over the names, kind of like Ring is doing with their pound for pound, and still having Spence in there. And I understand we have to respect Errol Spence for what he's done, but it's easy to kind of just get hypnotized by the name. I know it's really, really soon, but guys, special happens every once in a while. We're seeing it with Inoue, we're seeing it with Bud, but I think we have special in Bam. And as uncomfortable it is to talk about it this early, look what he's done already. Look how he's doing it. It's so damn entertaining to be able to collect belts at that weight, especially, and to do it electrifying, man. So I don't think it's too soon for Bam because he's special to say, why not? Beeb, you said he's not Bud, he's not Canelo, he's not Inoue. I would just say, why not? He is special, man. And his resume, we're not just using the eyeball test anymore with him. Sometimes you have to use eyeball tests like Tank Davis because he really hadn't had quality opposition. Tank is a phenomenal fighter, but we don't have that. All we can use is the eyeball test. We're seeing Bam do it with quality opposition. Yes, Gallo may have been old, but look how he beat him. I'm completely sold. I'm blown away. And I think it's a matter of time before we see Bam at that top spot. That's my hot boxing opinion on Bam Rodriguez.
Look, LTB, I saw you shaking your head. What's going on? You're on mute though.
No, I'm just saying. My co-host, my partner in crime, Jay, he say it's a matter of time. Yeah, it is a matter of time. It's gonna be years away before we see. No, it's gonna be years because, like I say, we don't know who the full Bam Rodriguez is yet. He's showing us, but this dude is just 24. We can't just see. Look, this is not a sprint. It's a marathon. And like my guy, Munguia said, Mario Munguia. Like I say, I look, Devin Haney still in my pound for pound. Like, I don't care what nobody say. Y'all can say whoopty whoop this, whoopty whoop that. A cheater is a cheater. It don't go against him. Shakur Stevenson still in my pound for pound. Yeah, was that a bad display he put on? But okay, so fighters have one bad fight that we just gonna, but they still win. We gonna throw them out, or a fighter find out they get cheated against. We gonna throw them out. Like we can't do that because if it's just the only sport I think about we do that in. Because in other sports, I'm pretty sure a wide receiver can have a bad game and they don't still look at him like that because they know the next game he's going to be able to come back. So Bam Rodriguez, he is on his way. I mean, special, like special is like when I look at Canelo on the come up, that's special, right? That's special. We're talking about a guy like, besides Mayweather, and people regard Mayweather as one of the best ever, right? I mean, when he was young coming up, to be able to do that, like, I don't think Bam Rodriguez fought a guy on that level like that yet. Is he exciting? Is he the future? Maybe,
So
but I want to see more.
Let's do an exercise. Who did Canelo beat by the age of 24 better than Gallo Estrada?
I would have to just like look at his resume, but what I'm saying is, Guy Estrada. See, look, Guy Estrada was an old fight. Crazy, he a Hall of Famer. But come on, who picked him? Anybody on this? Put your hands up and say y'all say Guy Estrada was gonna win. Not me. I knew that Bam Rodriguez, the younger, stronger fighter, was going to go in there and mow him down like we see the younger, stronger fighters do. Do it always happen? No. I knew he was going to do that.
TBA.
What about Canelo Mayweather, 23 years old, old man? I mean, I'm just saying.
TBA, your list is your list. Don't let nobody try to tell you about anything's wrong with your list, man. That's your list.
That's his list.
You own that list, TBA. You own that list.
We're going to
stand on that list, TBA. Stand on that list.
No, but here's what I'm saying, though, okay? I hear your points, but you're actually arguing that he is special because you're saying he's only 24, guys. You're saying he hasn't reached his full potential, right? It's different to where is he right now. His full potential is actually kind of scary because he's only 24 years old. Look at what he's already done. 3 division world champion. He beat the man of the division at 115. He destroyed him on Saturday. That's the guy that beat Chocolatito. He won a trilogy against Chocolatito Gonzalez. That's who he just beat.
After he's ran through all the boogeymen of that division. Although I will make a point, though, that Canelo did fight Trout and Lara, and even though he lost to Mayweather, that was around the same age. But again, that highlights the point we're making in that Bam is doing those kinds of things. Look at where Canelo is today based on those abilities and his willingness to give fans the fights they want. If that's the path that Bam's on, then understand it's not just about his ability, but it's about his willingness to give us those fights, as opposed to the guys like Tank and Spence and Crawford, who made us wait years. He's already taken out the guys we would have wanted him to fight over the next 2 years. And he did it in what? An 18-month time span?
Not to cut you off, Mario. You know what the difference is? Beautiful thing about these lighter weight classes is they have to fight the best because they can't wait. They don't have the luxury of waiting because they have to fight the best to get the paydays. So it's a different ball game, man.
And look, by the way,
stand on that list, TBA. Stand on that list.
Shout out to Isaac Bermudez. Look, Trout's he was born in El Paso. He's from Las Cruces, New Mexico. He was no Gallo Estrada. Like, I'm just going to put that out there. You know what I mean? And Canelo didn't destroy him. Canelo won a decision against him.
Good point.
But Lara, yeah, he was 24 years old when he fought Lara, but that was a disputed decision, and no offense to Lara. Lara he wasn't a Gallo Estrada. Like, it just wasn't. Like,
no, you're absolutely right.
The argument I'm making. All right, but
to that case, Laura is still like a champion right now, though, right? Are you a champion right now?
He's a champion.
But you can argue Estrada's legacy.
Middleweight champ of the world.
Are he the champion right now?
WBA middleweight champ of the world.
Put some respect on that.
Put some respect on Lara's name, man. The American dream.
No, but to be fair, though, that's the thing with Estrada, and that's what makes this win so great. And even though, you're right, 100%, Mr. IOTBA, you were 100% right. Estrada's a faded fighter, but we didn't know that for sure going into Saturday because we've heard those things about Estrada before. Just when you think he's too old, just when you think you're seeing him age right in front of your eyes, he comes back in dramatic fashion and wins the fight. He's done it over and over. Yes, we knew there was going to come a time where he just wasn't going to be able to do that anymore. And I think we've reached that time. I don't want to see a rematch. It's a waste of time. He's much better off fighting a guy in Chocolatito making way more money who's just as faded and had just as many wars as he has. That said, he beat a guy who's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he destroyed him. I don't think I can say anything like that about Canelo. I was willing to die on that Lara Trout argument because those guys were seen as some of the most technically dangerous fighters that everybody thought Golden Boy was going to keep Canelo away from. He went and fought those fights. That's the kind of same energy Bam gives me. Now, I'm not saying Canelo's giving me that energy today, but I'm saying back then Canelo was giving that kind of energy. That is special in a sport where as soon as you get to that
100%.
stardom, you want to fight one time a year.
Can I just say 5 seconds? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, this now.
No, go ahead.
What I want to tell you, the difference in Bam Rodriguez style and Canelo style, Canelo based his style off of American boxers. Like, I'm not saying that Bam Rodriguez isn't a guy who could, throw every punch, but he's a guy who really, holds his balls and come forward and overwhelms you. Canelo was a different type of slick Mexican fighter from Guadalajara who adapted the American style. That's why, in my opinion, you didn't see as much knockouts as well. That's just my opinion.
Canelo cannot hold a candle to the footwork that Bam has. The angles that Bam turns, where he shoots his shot from. Canelo will wear your ass down. And what do you mean? Like,
what I'll say, TV, this is what I'll say. I think, look at the angles of Bam. Look how he turns and shifts, and while he's shifting, he's already setting up an uppercut and landing it, and that's Bam does not fight like your typical come forward Mexican from Southern California boxer. Like he's a more versatile fighter. There's people comparing his footwork to Lomachenko.
Mm-hmm. Deservedly so, man. The knockout was a thing of beauty. The way he positioned himself, dude, like he shifted his whole body to find that opening, man. It was a beautiful thing.
And I'll say this. I was saying this to Joe earlier on the phone. He was outboxing Estrada from the outside, and it kind of forced Estrada to try to get on the inside and see if I could trade with the kid, which was a mistake. Like, you don't want to trade with Bam, but Bam's a vicious puncher. That was actually like it, but he almost had to do it because he wasn't beating him on it was the only way he was able to create an opening, like when he got the knockdown. I just think Bam is a pretty versatile fighter. It's just my opinion. And speaking of Shakur, I know you have on your pound for pound list. Shakur loves Bam. He says he's one of the best. So we got to agree with Shakur.
I do.
I don't agree with.
I don't want him to call me a casual fan.
like Shakur, Shakur think his word is loud. I respect the Shakur, and I think he's one of the best fighters. But if you tell Shakur anything or ask him a question or say something, well, I don't think it's like that. So, I mean, I know that Bam is one of the best fighters out there. I say he's right about that, but yeah.
No, for sure, for sure. Look, a lot to touch on here. So let's go ahead and talk about this announcement. Regis Prograis against Catterall. Regis going to get a shot. The last time we saw Regis Prograis, he got routed. Shutout performance by Devin Haney in San Francisco last December. And we are where we are now. This fight's been announced. But styles make fights. Regis has fought Taylor. I actually feel, it's my opinion, Prograis actually won that fight against Taylor back in, I think it was 2019. I thought he won that fight, but it could have gone either way. But now it's going to face Catterall. Mario, what do you think of the announcement of this fight? Do you like this fight? And early preview prediction here.
Yeah, I really, really do. It's a good style matchup. And here's the thing, though, for me. It's weird because, when Regis was being courted as a free agent, right? There were people that were, talking about how he's like the perfect fighter to have in your stable, the way he fights, he's just a no back down kind of guy. And yet the last time we see him out is the performance that you touched on. And now he's being thrown into, just another difficult fight. My question for Eddie would be like, or not my question for Eddie, but my question would be like, who does Eddie want in the, like, who is Eddie which side is he on at this point? Like, it's not that obviously Regis isn't like he's just throwing him away, but it represents that duality in Eddie Hearn as a UK promoter who wants to be considered as a world promoter, but you can't do that unless you hit America in a more impactful way than he's been. It's a great matchup. It's a great matchup. It feels a lot like kind of like a must win for both in a weird way. I think it's more important for Regis to not lose back to back. But I don't know. I also can't see Catterall losing to Regis and being given the same kind of, prestige we've given him since his last few performances. I just think ultimately it's a good matchup. And I can't wait for it. Honestly, I'm gonna pick Catterall in it. I thought Regis won the fight as well. I do, and I would pick him, but I'm starting to feel like his style of fighting doesn't resonate with judges in the same kind of way. Marquez had that kind of problem where it was like universally put up against the right guy or the right style, the judges would lean a certain way, and it feels like that's kind of the case for him.
Okay. Solomon, talk to us, brother. What do you think of this fight? And is this a must-win for Prograis, in your opinion? Yeah, I'm you, brother.
Me?
There we go. Sorry about that. Fun matchup. Definitely fun matchup. I like the matchup. I like both guys. I like both guys' energy. I like both guys' heart. We saw Regis coming off in my IOTBA, a religious ass whooping. That, for the record, I saw coming. Boxing Voice gave me shit about it. IOTBA gave me shit. I didn't see Regis winning a round in that fight. Anyhow, going back to Catterall, Regis, I just think these guys are two different places in their careers, man. If we're just talking straight X's and O's, well, shit, I would probably pick Catterall anyway. But Regis, dipping a little bit, working out in MMA, wanting to do this, wanting to do that, getting a late start in boxing to begin with. I think when folks get a late start in boxing, their number one motivator, like most people who do it, but more for them, is money, right? Regis has his money. I don't know that you're going to have that passion for winning. It's not a conscious thing we decide. It's something that when you get that paycheck, the workouts just aren't as sharp and crisp. It happens. I'm a sales guy. When I hit quota, for some reason, the rest of the month, I just relax. I don't tell myself I'm going to be lazy. It just happens. I hope my bosses aren't watching. But anyway, with that being said, Regis is 35, right? 35. He's in the mid-30s. I believe he's 35. Catterall's just hitting 30. I think that's a huge difference. I know it sounds like just 5 years. We've seen Regis go through wars. We've seen Catterall go through wars. All of that kind of checks off. They're both around the same height. I think Regis maybe has an inch on him. I just think Catterall, coming off the fight he just had against Taylor, he's going to feel the momentum. I just think he's got more in the tank. I think he's got a better skill set. I think he's in a better place in his career where he wins a tough fight, but an easy to score fight.
Okay. Miss IOTBA, Prograis versus Catterall. What do you think of this fight?
Oh, it's gonna be one-sided. I forgot about this earlier when people mentioned who they don't know who the top 140 is. Jack Catterall, clearly, in my opinion, is the top 140-pound fighter in the world, and I think he's been that because I think when he fought Josh Taylor 2 years ago, everybody know that was a robbery, clear cuts, no debating that Josh Catterall won that fight. And to touch on real quick what Mario said, I think you're a little off base with this when he talk about Eddie Hearn and what Eddie Hearn is doing. Eddie Hearn is doing what he's supposed to do, in my opinion, as a promoter, right? You have Jack Catterall, who went through his trials and tribulations, finally got his moment again, went up against the best Josh Taylor and beat him convincingly. Regis Prograis, coming off that loss to Devin Haney, right? He don't want to go backwards. He want to go forwards. And the type of forward fight for Regis Prograis to put him back in position as being a two-time world champion, trying to be a three-time world champion, is fighting a guy like Jack Catterall, right? But I think this is clearly going to be a one-sided fight. I think Catterall, his mid range is just going to be unbearable for a guy like Regis Prograis. Can Regis punch? Yeah, he could punch, but like the great Muhammad Ali said, the hands can't hit what the eyes can't see. Y'all know the rest, right? But yeah, I got Jack Catterall winning this fight. I think Eddie Hearn is doing a tremendous job for both fighters in this. That's why I disagree with Mario, because this is a fight that could put Regis Prograis instantly back in position, and this is a fight that with another name that Jack Catterall need on his resume to put him in position, because he really, if we are being honest, he really supposed to be the undisputed champion right now. If we're being honest with ourselves, if y'all had Josh Taylor winning that first fight, I'll throw my hands up. But to me, I had Catterall winning. So I think this is the perfect fight for both guys, even though I think this is going to be like a walk in the park for Jack Catterall. But yeah, I think this is the perfect fight.
It's a fair point.
Right. Chobib, what do you think of this fight? And are you surprised that they're doing it and not pursuing a title fight or maybe a trilogy with Taylor?
Little surprised Catterall is doing it because he's right in position to get a title shot, right? But I think he's confident in his ability. I think he could. I think he believes this is a very winnable fight for him. I think he believes he has the advantages here. I think Regis Prograis' kryptonite is guys who can box well on the outside. If you remember the Zorilla fight, kept him at the end of the jab, created space. Devin did the same thing, and Jack Catterall can also do that. Jack Catterall has a little bit more than just the outside game. He can hold his own on in the mid range as well. TBA made a great point. Like Jack Catterall is pretty solid in the mid range because he really did piece up Taylor in the mid range particularly in the second fight. So I think this is an intriguing fight because this is a fight. Regis Prograis is getting like a kind of like a second chance here to try and prove that he still belongs at this championship level. And if he loses to Catterall, then he's going to have to start asking some questions. And Eddie Hearn's going to have to start asking some questions. What are we going to do moving forward, right? Because this division, like I said, is red hot. It's wide open. And there's a lot of guys at the top of it. And one loss can push you back down to the bottom. But I do like the fight. I think it's very intriguing. And I think it's a good fight for both fighters because, again, the mandatory hasn't really been ordered for Catterall yet, so he's got to keep busy. And this, like I said, this is a good fight for him where he can actually really look good, make a statement, and move on to the next one.
Absolutely. I do agree with all those points. And I do hope Catterall gets a title shot after this, especially if he does win. Now, for Prograis, I mean, oh boy, if he gets this win, I mean, he's right back in the mix, right? So you can't count out Prograis, in my opinion, but I just don't think Catterall's as elusive as a Haney, so I do think he's going to get to Catterall a little bit more, but I do think Catterall will win the fight. It's going to be an interesting one, though, so we will see. Right now, you guys are tuned into the RoundTable, 190 episodes, and we've got a lot to talk about, including
Congrats,
Shakur.
Jim.
Hey, check this out, guys. So this one's a little odd. I don't even know where to really go with this one other than just asking it. So Masvidal is going to be boxing Nate Diaz, right? They're going to box like the rematch in boxing, and I guess it's something to talk about. For those that don't know, one of Vargas' sons is fighting the brother Ryan Garcia. They're having like a heated kind of rivalry there as well. So that should be interesting. But one, do you care about this? Does it intrigue you? And if you do, who wins? Joe Beeb.
I have probably zero interest for this fight, man. Zero. If someone bought me this fight, I probably still may not watch it unless you tied me to my recliner. But I think Nate Diaz will win this fight. I think he's got more experience. I think Jorge Masvidal, I don't think he has the fluidity of Nate Diaz in terms of like boxing. I think Nate Diaz is not a bad boxer considering his experience. Like for an MMA fighter, I think Nate Diaz is a very capable boxer. He has good hands. He always had good hands in the in MMA. Masvidal is a striker too, but he's kind of like one shot at a time, kind of a brawler, slugger type, haymaker type guy. So I would pick Nate Diaz in this fight, but this could look like a real ugly fight, man. Real ugly, sloppy, messy fight. So.
Okay. Well, for those that don't know, Masvidal started in bare knuckle backyard, you know what I mean, boxing, and he did win a close majority decision against a dude that's not that good. If you look it up in BoxRec like a couple of years ago, so it is what it is. And of course, Nate lost to Jake Paul, and but he did do sparring with SOG Andre Ward back in the day. So for what it's worth, Mr. TBA. Do you care about this boxing match between these two MMA fighters?
Yeah, very much, because I'm a fan, right? You have to understand, growing up, just seeing Jorge Masvidal, being able, just like to do the unthinkable and start in backyard brawling, hook up with Kimbo Slice. You got this pretty boy Mexican, right? And he able to fight. That's just something that you didn't see back in the day. You don't see, this a pretty boy Mexican coming to a backyard to where it's mostly black guys there, and he putting them on their ass. And Jorge Masvidal was doing it with ease. Now, when it comes to Nate Diaz, right? When you think about Nate Diaz, and not just that, with Masvidal and his MMA too, because I'm a huge MMA fan. And when you talk about Nate Diaz, bro, just everything he done did. I know this is boxing, right? But if you a fan of them guys and have been following them guys for a long time, you'll love this fight. And let me say this, right? And anybody who got a problem with this fight, right? Are y'all the same people that had a problem with Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul? Was y'all clapping y'all hands, stomping y'all feet, and shouting for joy when Mike Tyson and Jake Paul was going on? But people are not interested in Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz, who are legends in themselves, right? I know they never, accomplished, thing, but they are legends, bro, and just a story. So I'm very much interested because I'm a fan of them guys.
Okay, all right. Mario, if you remember, I don't know who remembers this. This is all I'll say. Canelo and Kovalev had to wait for this fight to take place, and then the zone greenlit the fight to go ahead and continue, right? Because they wanted to get all the MMA fans to purchase the zone as well to watch Canelo or whatever. Because it was so big, they have to do it. Do you think they'll have the same success in this boxing match like that in this fight? And what do you think of the matchup?
I don't think they'll have the same kind of success. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of people like me and Mr. IOTBA who want to see this. I want to see this because it's not a guy who is in his 20s and has been boxing at a novice level fighting a 50-year-old, former heavyweight. This is a legitimate sporting contest in that neither guy is well versed in boxing, and yet both men have shown superior hand striking skills in MMA. Now, I can totally understand if you're a boxing fan, you have no interest in this or you hate it, that's cool. But just understand that our interest comes from having that continuity of seeing Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz, by the way, and guys like Frankie Edgar, Gray Maynard, and yes, Jorge Masvidal, who've had the hands that you could at least look at them and say, you know what, that's the kind of striking that if they had taken boxing more serious and went that route as opposed to MMA, they might have been able to do something. I'm not saying pound for pound or anything like that, but there's 4 titles in every weight division. I think it, wouldn't be a huge shock for Masvidal to have won a title if he would have went that boxing route instead. But for all the things that Mr. LTBA said, about the Masvidal rise, and you can apply the same sort of thing to Nate Diaz. He was on the Ultimate Fighter, and there's just a lot of history with these two guys. And the fact that casual fans and crossover fans recognize them for the BMF title, right? Baddest mother effer title, whatever. It gives the fight fans the idea that these two guys are going to go to war. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but they have the stamina to at least put on a show while it lasts. And Nate is not a guy who runs from his get back. If he gets hit, he will not stop until he tries to get that get back. And that makes for interesting things when both guys aren't superior boxers.
100%. All right. Solomon, talk to us.
Yeah, man. So look, I consider myself a boxing purist. I hate all these exhibitions. I mean, it gets under my skin. But if we just take this for what it is, Masvidal, Diaz, none of these guys are claiming to be the next champion like what Jake Paul does, and nobody's saying, they're not calling out boxers and just disrespecting the game. They're doing their own thing. They're running it back. Hey, we did the cage. Now let's put it in the ring. I'm intrigued. I won't lie. I'm intrigued. It's easy for me to be like, no, don't disrespect my sacred sport. But no, I'm intrigued because obviously the backgrounds, we saw these guys coming up, the rematch, the mouth talking. Listen, man, I seen a comment that you shot up earlier that said Nate Diaz looked like Kaka against Jake. Nate Diaz has never been your traditional puncher. He and his brother somehow figure out a way to make their punching power vicious. It's not pretty to watch. And if you look at the late rounds against Jake Paul, he was landing some shots that, the optics of it, if you're just a traditional boxing fan, you say, oh, that, but they were hurting him because what from Nate Diaz, those ugly ass shots actually hurt. So I'm interested, man. I would be more interested if they had Coach Capatillo fighting that security guard that he pieced up. That would be kind of fun to watch. But let's not forget Carmel Moten just got added to the card. That's going to be fun to watch for the future of boxing, just to get another opportunity to give an eyeball test, for him to take an eyeball test. He's not going up against much competition. But, hey, to answer the question you presented to Mario about will it do numbers, I think these exhibition fights are starting to lose their thunder a bit. They're watering down. Otherwise, Jake Paul wouldn't have had to dig in his bag of tricks for the biggest name in our sport in the last 50 years with Mike Tyson. So they're watering down a bit. I don't anticipate this fight stealing anybody's ratings like their cage fight did. But I am going to be entertained. I am going to watch. I'm picking Nate Diaz to win this. I just have a little bit more confidence in his tricky awkwardness. He's not going to go in there trying to look like a boxer. He's just going to be himself, and I think he'll land the shots. He'll last longer. And for what it's worth, I think Nate Diaz comes out victorious.
I think it's going to be an intriguing fight. I don't know if I'm going to watch it, to be quite frankly, but it is intriguing. And Sean Garcia will be fighting Amado Vargas, the son of Fernando Vargas.
That's a good
That's
fight.
the brother of Ryan Garcia. They're going back and forth. Nowadays, I don't even know if these rivalries are real or not, or they're just doing it to sell. Like, I just don't know, right? But I will say this: it is intriguing and motivating on the card. I think it's actually a good move by them, just to get them more exposure. So I don't mind it, but I just don't. I think it's not going to do what people think it's going to do. These guys are not as big of names outside of the UFC. Like, they're not. Once they leave that, the island of UFC, like, they're not as big. Like, they just aren't. It's like Tito Ortiz, that is, against Chuck Liddell. The third fight didn't sell anything. First of all, they were both too old and washed up, but still, the names didn't do anything for people because it didn't have the UFC stamp on it. I just don't think it's going to sell like that, quite frankly. But we will see, and it's on pay-per-view, which is crazy, right? But we'll see what happens with that.
Hey, sorry, I thought you were wrapping up your thought, brother.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you remember the XFL? Let's go the first time around.
Sure.
It sounded good, and man, we were licking our chops because we thought we were going to be playing real life NFL Blitz or watching NFL Blitz. But at the end of the day, all these football leagues that try to come up, they go under real fast. Why? Because the product on what we're watching, it's just not what we're used to. Same thing with these exhibition fights. These crazy big name exhibition fights are starting to lose their thunder a little bit, because when we pay for the fights and we sit around and we get our family and our friends around and we watch what's being fed to us, it's trash, man. Cool names, cool idea, but at the end of the day, it's not a fun product to watch. So now I think people are figuring out the exhibition, all that stuff, and I don't anticipate these things being around much longer. I hope I'm right.
And to add one last thing. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mario.
Just real quick, one last thing is that, man, the thing that sucks the most about it is that it's happening on such a packed day, right? Like, if you're a fan of this fight, then there's a likelihood that you're a fan of both MMA and boxing, right? And if that's the likelihood, then there's also a pretty good likelihood that a lot of these people are wrestling fans as well. And you got Money on the Bank on Saturday, Shakur, Zepeda, and, you know, all these different types of things. It's just a really crowded Saturday that I feel like if they would have put it somewhere else where it's not as busy during the summer, it probably would have had a better shot. But I think that, Sal's right. It's just, they're not the names to completely take it from Shakur.
I truly think they are, right. And look, yeah, everybody know I love boxing, right? But I think y'all misjudging this, right? Because these are legends, right, at the end of their career. Now, I do agree with certain exhibition fights. They could play out because, we have to see a guy continue to do better. Like with Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal going into this fight, where I'm telling you, it's the purest. They got some purest fans out here who are going to support them, right? Over watching a Shakur Stevenson. Do everybody on the panel still have that taste in their mouth from that last Shakur fight? Who is running like Forrest Gump, ready to watch the Shakur fight?
I'm running the other way. I'm running the other way.
Yeah, we know Nate Diaz, who gonna bring it. We know Jorge Masvidal. Y'all remember 2 pieces in the soda? They're going to bring it. That's the difference. Now, I love wrestling. Grew up loving wrestling. I know wrestling is probably gonna be able to compete with that. But when I tell you Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal have the purest fans, this fight will do good numbers, in my opinion.
Okay, well, we will see. You know what I mean? We will see where they go from there. Look, Shakur Steve, that's a good segue, Miss LTBA, right? Shakur Stevenson, he's coming back. We all know about a lot of people were not happy with his performance against De Los Santos, right? So now he's going to come back and he's going to fight a guy in Artem who many feel, right, won his last fight, right? And feel that perhaps he earned that, the decision against Martin. So Martin, of course, we all know, went on to get knocked out by Tank Davis. This is not that long ago, but that's like, he needs to look better than Martin did in this fight. No, like how do you think he's going to do in this fight?
I don't know. It's yet to be determined, right? Look, I'm picking Shakur to win this fight. But look, we got to understand about these two guys. Like Artem said at the press conference today, Shakur won a silver medalist. I won the bronze medalist. So we know the skill set is there because, it got to be something special about you if you can make it to the Olympics and win one of the medals where your career panned out like it should be. We seen some who didn't, and we seen some who did. But the one thing I like about this fight is the stylistic matchup of this fight. And I'm praying. Like, I'm going to get on my knees every night until Saturday. I'm going to pray 10 or 20 times a day that Shakur Stevenson hold his word and say, y'all think I just move around? And I'm saying, no, don't be smart and not move around. But Shakur, if you want us to keep flicking to your television, we need you to stand on business on how you're speaking in this new press conference. But everybody, we've seen this before with Shakur. We've seen it. He tell us this all the time that he's going to do this and he's going to do that. I just hope and believe that Shakur, as a fighter, understand that that was a bad moment in his last fight. It happens in boxing. I hope that he make the necessary corrections, because he has to understand it's not all about the W. You have to have that extra sauce on it to make the public wants to pay attention. That's my thoughts.
Solomon, this is Shakur. I think this is an opportunity to make a case for he's going to be a free agent. Don't you want to sign me? What's up? Like, this is a big event. There's a lot on the line here. It's not just the fight here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
No, you're right. It's like seeing a baller, a football player, NBA guy in their contract year. You know, he's going to come out. Obviously, he's got some redemption. Obviously, the public did not receive his last fight well. Look, I'll tell y'all a quick story. I'm big on Shakur. I still am big on Shakur. Maybe tap the brakes a little bit, not just because he the hurt hand. You know, he dominated the fight still with a hurt hand on the scorecards. But fun story. I was starting a new job out there training with my buddies training. We're hanging out after hours, grabbing a beer. I was like, y'all have to watch this guy, Shakur. Correa and I actually made TMZ with Shakur Stevenson. So that was their introduction to boxing. These guys who don't know shit about boxing, y'all have to watch Shakur. We're sitting there at the bar. This guy's going to light it up. Turn on the TV. Shakur lays the egg, and I was humiliated. My phone was blowing up. My parents, everybody was just like, ha, 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 what about Shakur? So I got some redemption that I want to get this weekend. I think Shakur's going to look great. I think we are reading way too much into the De Los Santos fight. Edward De Los Santos is a good-ass fighter, man. Shakur was hurt. Shakur probably could have stood in there a little bit longer, but I don't know. He's a young kid, probably not thinking that far in advance. I think we're going to see the Shakur of old, the Valdez Shakur, that guy that's going to come out, make a statement not just to the fans, but to the promoters. You guys want to do business with me. If anybody's going to beat Tank Davis, it's going to be me. And we have to see that Saturday. Everybody's saying Lomachenko's too old for Tank Davis. Who knows how that fight's going to look? I'm excited about it. But if it goes the way the public thinks it's going to go because Loma's age, Shakur has to be the guy that's going to beat Tank. So we'll see. I'm super excited about it. I think Shakur comes out and looks good against a very, very good opponent in Artem, like you said, who arguably could have been given a decision against Frank Martin.
Mario Munguia, same question to you, brother. What do you think about Shakur? The pressure's on him? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. The pressure's on him. Sal's analogy or metaphor of a baller in a contract year, right? Whether you're MLB, NFL, it doesn't matter. You got to show out, especially because it is a very intentional, strategic, deliberate move in any sports figures or athlete's career when they've had a long-term contract or a contract that extends years, and then they get to a point where they are competing under the guise of a like the contract's over, right? You're competing knowing the contract is finished after this. That is all the reason that Shakur needs to show out. But it's not the only reason for us to tune in, and I know that you're going to go over, the card and it's the co-main event with O'Shaquie Foster, but you got Keyshawn Davis on the card, Abdullah Mason's on the card, William Foster III. Let's see. Kelvin Davis is on the card, Ali Felice, I forgot his nickname, but this is a decent little card to watch regardless. So it feels like it's really hard to gauge the situation, right? Is this also a kind of audition for Top Rank if they're going back to the table to get the biggest number they can possibly get? Because, let's be honest, the pool has thinned out. I'm not saying PBC's dead. I'm not saying they're going to die. All I'm saying is that there are far less opportunities, and every single week or every other week, we get another story about a rumor or a actual fighter leaving the company. I don't know if that's the best place that Shakur would want to put himself in. So this could be a situation where he absolutely goes out there, tries to make the best showing he possibly can. And like Sal said, it's like a situation where now you're going to say, I'm the person that can beat Tank. Look what I just did. How could Top Rank let him go without giving him all the money he wants?
All right. Okay. Joe Beeb, let me ask you it this way. As long as we've been talking boxing, it's always, what have you done for me lately? What does he have to do in his fight to win people over?
He's got to win by, if he doesn't win by knockout, he's got to win very decisively in a way where he puts on a phenomenal offensive performance. People are going to want to see him come forward. Now, he can go backward, but he's got to be counterpunching when he's going backward. And he's got to try to put some pressure on Harutyunyan. And the good thing here is when Shakur's not in there with a big puncher, he tends to take a little bit more chances. So he may take some more chances in this fight. Obviously, people go on the internet. I think people read their own press, especially fighters. They can say they don't care what people think, but I think they do, and it's understandable. But this could be the fight where, he does make a statement. I think this is the right style matchup for him to make a statement. And he's definitely going to try. You're going to see him be more aggressive in this fight. I totally believe that. And he should win. And maybe this type of performance that he puts forth on Saturday will kind of erase the Dos Santos fight. But question is, will he re-sign with Top Rank? Because I think he's going to have to re-sign with Top Rank in order to get the big fights, in my opinion.
Okay. So if you had a crystal ball and you have to predict, more likely he's going to resign?
I think he's going to resign, yeah. I do.
Okay. Should be interesting. Plus,
I don't know. I don't know about that, because my thing is, I love Terrence Crawford. He made me put respect all on his name, right? For him being aerospace, I got to salute that. You can't run from it. You got to run to it if you're going to keep it real, right? And that's what I had to do with Terrence Crawford. But the one thing about Shakur, hanging out with Terrence Crawford, right? You got to be your own man, Shakur, right? Your Terrence Crawford problems with Top Rank, not your problems, right? And we can clearly tell that Terrence Crawford has been in this guy era. Now, what Shakur don't understand, this is a business, sir. I don't care how great you think you are. I don't care if you think you could do the ballet around the ring better than anybody. Your silhouette is the best from the 2-1-4 across the front. I don't care. He in his last fight with Top Rank, right? And the one thing we seen out of Shakur, right? If the going get tough, he starts circling. Like in that last fight against Edwin, we seen this guy damn near catch whiplash, right, trying to dodge a punch. And I'm not knocking Shakur for that, but what I am saying is, Shakur, we are tired, Shakur, of you talking like you're Mike Tyson on the outside of the ring, then getting in the ring, and I say this respectfully, right, and fighting like you're Paulie Malignaggi on the inside of the ring. We're tired of that. You have to show up and show up.
Why are you going to call him Sicily Tyson?
Why is everybody so forgiving for Teofimo Lopez? Not just one performance, but he's had a few underwhelming performances. But with Shakur, it's just like last opportunity. You better do well today because we are not.
Here's what I think.
Because Teofimo has two legit names. He has Lomachenko and he has Josh Taylor. He has what's that other guy, the African guy he beat to become the IBF? Comey. He got them. So it ain't like we ain't seen T.O.B. sensational on a run with Shakur. Nakatila. How did he look in that fight? JJ Solomon.
I think I'll say this too, Solomon. Yes, I think he looked lackluster in some fights, but here's the but. He was trying to fight, right? He was coming forward. He was being the aggressor. Against Sander Martin, he was the aggressor, right? I think Sander Martin, in my opinion, stunk up the joint because he has to. That's how he fights. The other dude, whatever his name, what's his name? I forgot his name. The last dude he fought.
Lopez. Jermaine Ortiz.
Yeah, Jermaine Ortiz. Like, Mr. I forgot his name. Like, Jermaine Ortiz was avoiding it. He was the Shakur in that fight. He was the one running around the ring.
Sure.
Like, it was just
sure. No. Listen, this isn't. I'm not gonna be one of those guys. I adapt to what is being fed to me. And that performance by Shakur Stevenson, as high as I have him on a pedestal, and regardless of their injuries, there's still a way to fight. And, hell, we saw it with Nico. We saw it with Tank Davis. Tank was still standing in there fighting, so there's ways to do it to where you can still secure the victory and still try to put on a show.
Also, Solomon, like Theo just broke his own record for punches landed.
Who's that? Oh, Theo.
Theo. Shakur and De Los Santos broke the record for the least amount of punches thrown in the world title fight.
Terrible fight. I'm not going to stand here on a pedestal and say that.
These are not the records we want to break.
He threw 900 punches on Saturday, Teofimo Lopez, man.
No, he did. And, well, how many did he absorb, though?
Like he could actually say
170, I think, not that much.
Shakur Stevenson can say I'm a record breaker. I'm breaking records out here. He is. It's the wrong records, in my opinion. Right?
Hey, man, he's got to redeem himself Saturday. I think he's fine. Everybody's saying the sky is falling for Shakur, but no, it's and another thing. Oshaki is we're gonna get to him, but no. To Mario's point, it's a nice card. It's a nice card where people feel they still have shit to prove. From Oshaki to Keyshawn to Abdullah, everybody's going to be looking to make a statement. Shakur's not going to want to get outdone by his undercard. I think all of them are going to hold each other accountable.
So good segue. Let's definitely talk about Oshaki Foster, who has been in some great fights. Let's call it what it is. And he's going to go there with, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but against Robson Concecao, and I'm excited about it. Because Robson Concecao's fight with Navarrete was a really good fight. And he was actually being aggressive trying to win that fight. And I thought he won. Like, I scored it for him. They had it a draw, but that's a performance he's coming out of. Concecao, Foster, who is this fight, Solomon? And talk to us.
I love what Shaq is doing, man. I love what Shaq is doing. I love that Shaq continues to prove people wrong. He has a chip on his shoulder. And I like how critical he is of himself. His last fight, he looked great, and he was saying how disappointed he was in his performance. And sometimes it's not good to be too hard on yourself, but that tells me that Shaq is not satisfied easily. We saw him almost get robbed in Mexico, and he closed the show in enemy territory. I love the chip on the shoulder that he fights with. He's got a tough fight against Conceicao. Conceicao's getting up there in age 2 while Shaq's confidence is peaking. Shaq's got some great wins back-to-back under his belt. There is a ton of future in front of him. He knows people will be watching because of the card. I think all the signs are pointing to see a spectacular performance from Oshaki Foster. And shout out to Conceicao. He's gonna. I just think we've seen his best. And I think Shaq's got something to prove right now in that division. And I still think he's got a lot of naysayers. His name doesn't get brought up as frequently, especially for being an American fighter. I'm excited to see. That's probably – well, now that Abdullah's been added, I'm excited about the whole card. But, no, I think Shaq wins that fight in another tough fight. But I think Shaq pulls it out because he's got that level. He's got that second gear, man, that a lot of fighters don't have. And I'm predicting a Oshaki Foster statement-making fight.
Okay. Joe B, what type of fight are you expecting? Oshaki Foster versus Conceicao.
This can be a chess match in the beginning, right? Because we know both these guys have high-level boxing skills. But one thing about Shaq Foster, he can adapt and do whatever he needs to win. If he decides to bite down on that mouthpiece and have to take it to Conceicao because he doesn't want to wait on this guy, and if he says, I'm going to take the lead here, because these guys are both counterpunchers by nature. If he says, hey, I'm going to take the lead here, he can take the lead. And he can punch a little bit. Doesn't have a lot of knockouts, but I've seen him hit guys and turn the fight around, get their attention, and kind of make them shell up a little bit. So I think this fight, like you said, is going to be very competitive, very close. But I think in the second half, I'm expecting Shock to pull away. I'm expecting him to outwork Conceicao on the inside a little bit, rough him up, get physical, because he can do that too. And yeah, I think he's going to grind out a decision. And I think it's going to be fun to watch. While
All right, Mr. IOTB, what type of fight are you expecting? Who wins this one?
Well, as everybody can see by my shirt, it say American made, right? Everybody know I bleed the red, white, and blue from the 214 to wherever I'm at. You understand me? I'm so American, right? But one thing I have to admit, all these fighters from across the world have got better than these American fighters as a whole. And I'm just being honest with everybody. Hey, call me out on it. Tell me I'm wrong. Look, I'm not on here to tell everybody I know everything about boxing. This is just me doing my own observing at these new era American fighters, right? As I see. And I think fighters around the world literally are better than these guys. And we talk about Robson Concecao. Did I say that correctly, JJ?
That's a
okay.
That was perfect. Perfect, TBA.
Now listen. I'm not sold on O'Shaquie Foster. I'm not sold on him. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not sold on this guy, right? I'm just not. It's just, you know how you could just look at a fighter. Hey, if he win, he win. But I'm picking Robson Concecao to win this fight because I agree with D-Style. I had him winning his last fight. It's something. About these American judges, and I love this America where we are. I hope y'all can get it together because we've been robbing the fighters from across the pond for years. Can we finally give them a break? It's something about O'Shaquie Foster that just don't get to me. Is he a champion? Yeah. And I give him all his respect. But when I speak on Robson Concecao and the counterpuncher he is, shout out to Joe Habib, like one of the best talking boxing and breaking it down. I got to give you a credit on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
And I know you picking O'Shaquie Foster to win this fight. And you said if he bite down, he could take over. But if he bite down, Conceicao is going to counter punch the hell out of him. And he going to think he in one of these in this little country town in Texas. I'm picking Robson Concecao to come out with the upset, new champion of the world, and he going to make his native country proud.
Okay, all right. Bringing that world title home to Brazil. You know what I mean? It's okay. Hey, Mario, O'Shaquie Foster versus Robson Concecao. What you got?
Listen, I'm going to just get my pick right now, and it's going to be O'Shaquie Foster. I'm saying that willingly to say it as quickly as possible without giving an explanation because Mr. IOTBA said everything that I was going to say. You see, while I'm picking Foster, I don't want this lost on the opponent he has in front of him. Okay. It's a solid opponent. And if you don't think that he has more than a live dog's chance to win this fight, then I urge you to go and look up as many fights as you can find on Conceicao, and you will quickly realize that he is more than a live dog. As I said, that said, I think the problem with Foster is he is hot and cold at times. There are times where he comes in with an amazing game plan, and it's like he spent all camp visualizing what he wanted to execute. And then there are other times where you can't tell if it's complacency. You can't tell if it's not fear, like, oh, I'm scared, but he's staying away from the danger zones. You don't know what it is, right? There's no way I think this fight's boring in any way. I think we're going to get a good, solid fight. It'll give you some parts chess match, some parts violence, and those are the best versions of fights, in my opinion. Look, will it be a round of the year, fight of the year type of candidate like we got this past weekend? Probably not. But both men are coming in to win, and only one can. I think it's a very, very good win in terms of propelling the winner and champion onto the possibly next level.
All right. Look, I do got myself. I'm going to pick O'Shaquie Foster to win. I think but I don't think it's going to be an easy fight. I do think it's going to be a tough fight. And Robson Concecao has reached a point where he's not going to leave it He's trying his best to not just leave it in the judge's hands, like he kind of like he did against Valdez, in my opinion. And I thought he won that fight. So like he should really only have one loss, in my opinion, and that's Shakur Stevenson. That's it. So, for what it's worth, that's my opinion. One more topic about a fight happening this weekend. For those tuning in, 190th edition of the Roundtable, make sure you hit the like button. All right. Let's hit the like, guys. It takes 3 seconds. Hit the like, support the channel. If you like the content, hit the subscribe, hit the bell button, hit the notification, all that whole nine. So, William Zepeda, the Mexican murder hornet, as Calix calls him, or aka El Camarón Zepeda, they'll be fighting Giovani Cabrera. All right. First of all, Giovani don't look nothing like his picture on BoxRec. I mean, was that in the studio? Is there some photos? Like, what's going on here? Like,
I don't know. You don't have it with you? I want to see it.
You know what I mean? Let's go to BoxRec, Giovani Cabrera. It's like, okay. Like, okay, dude. Or like, you know what I mean? Like talk about a filter use and everything. But that's it. Yeah, he's going to be fighting William Zepeda, man. Look, this is at the Toyota Center in Ontario. De La Hoya tweeted out, I guarantee you he's going to throw more punches in one round than Shakur's going to throw in the entire fight. And so I guess he's trying to steal some thunder from that. But here's my question to the panel. I think it's safe to say, and even if you don't, you can just say, but I think everyone's going to pick Zepeda to win, right?
Sure. Yeah.
My question is Zepeda going to be the first man to stop Giovani Cabrera? Is he going to have a better performance than Isaac Cruz did? Isaac Cruz won a controversial decision against Giovani Cabrera. So I'll start with you, Solomon.
No, I think this is the first time. I think the world of Zepeda. Do not get me wrong here. And this isn't a knock on Zepeda because I'm picking Zepeda to win the fight. I'm picking Zepeda to throw 1,000 punches or whatever the hell the number is. But I just think Gio has a way to make these fights uncomfortable. He has a way to make these fights look a little ugly, just like he did against Cruz. You can argue that the Gio won that fight. Cruz isn't Zepeda. I like Zepeda's skills a lot more. His activity is out the. It's like something we hadn't seen in a long ass time. But just to answer your question, I see this going unanimous decision. Another easy fight to score round by round. And I just think Gio just has to make it look ugly. But how can you not give Zepeda these rounds? You know what I mean? So it's just going to be one of those long rounds. I think it's going to be one of those fights that just looks the same round in, round out, round in, round out, where Gio's just not going to be able to adjust or adapt to the onslaught of activity. But I just don't know that the onslaught of activity will be enough to get him out of there.
All right. Mario Munguia, is he going to have a better performance than Isaac Cruz did against Giovani Cabrera, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think he does. I think that see, this is the problem. When you're fighting a guy like Zepeda, you have to be able to keep him honest. Gio does not have the kind of power, I think, to keep honest a fighter capable of delivering the kinds of barrages that we've seen Zepeda deliver. Zepeda has some pop in his glove, right? But it's the overwhelming style that he uses. In that, I feel like without Gio being able to give him anything to keep him honest, he's just going to suffocate him at some point. He's going to take him out into the waters and drown him. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say like Gio gives us any reason to believe, that he's going to be easily drowned. I mean, the guy's beaten Gabriel Flores, right? And he went 12 with Isaac Cruz, who I think that's worth more today based on what Cruz has done since. I just feel like ultimately Zepeda is going to have a performance against somebody that fans care about for him to reach that other level. Don't get me wrong, Mercedo Gesta, Maxi Hughes, and Giovani Cabrera are not names to be embarrassed of. Those are solid names as you're working your way up. Not to discount Rene Alvarado, not to discount Joseph Diaz. There's plenty of names there, but that next upper echelon to really make it seem like he's got a shot at getting that Shakur fight It's got to come soon. Yo, and real quick, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off. I got to get to my parents. At Infighting Hub, can I just drop it out real quick? Can I put it in the chat too? Is that cool?
Sure.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Hey guys, great show. Appreciate it. Hey, good seeing you, people.
All right.
Yeah, happy 4th.
Happy 4th, guys.
Of July. Orale.
Absolutely. Shout out to you, brother. Joe Beeb. What type of performance do you think Zepeda's going to put on here?
Styles make fights. There's not going to be a lot of resistance from Giovani, in my opinion. He'll do his best, but I just think the volume and the thing with volume sometimes too with Zepeda, when you're in the corner watching your fighter just getting hit with so many punches, the corner may pull him out. They did it with Maxie Hughes, right? The referee can just say, "Hey, you're just taking too much punishment." Doesn't matter, you're not getting hurt with every shot. Doesn't matter, you're not going down. But if you're not throwing back and you're catching a lot, and even if you are throwing back sporadically, but you're still catching a lot, the referee is going to be looking for a way to stop this fight. And I could just see him there's just too much volume. I could see him overwhelming Giovani. And I'm going to pick the stoppage in this one. Yeah, I am. I think he's going to get a stoppage in this one.
Mr. IOTVA closes out with your prediction on this fight. How is Zepeda going to look?
First off, I want to say, boy, that was an excellent breakdown, Joe and JJ. Right on point. Right. First off, I want to say, love Gio. Me and JJ, we love Gio. Spit Bucket Podcast, we love him. He's getting managed by a guy, who we got mad love for down here in Dallas, Texas, Adrian Clark of Fighters First Management. Right. So salute to that. Got a lot of love for Gio. Right. But I got a lot of love for that guy Zepeda too, who been promoted by Golden Boy. Me and JJ was able to see him fight. I forgot where was that at in Los Angeles, wherever we was. But the Cameroon, right? When I tell y'all that is real, like that is real. Like I don't know if y'all believe in spirits. Like it's just like if you believe in what you believe in, right? That Cameroon is really in Zepeda. And when we talking about a guy who getting avoided, like once again, Shakur talk all that talk. Put your fighter up. Zepeda's right there. Like what's popping, right? But I definitely agree with Joe Habib, Ringside reporter. Everybody been mentioning in the chat that you've been putting up that he's durable, right? Well, this fight, he ain't gonna be durable enough because Zepeda, he understands the moment. He understands what he have to do, especially with Shakur Stevenson being on at the same time. He understands he has to go in here and make this his moment this night. The flurries, the punches and bunches, just the athleticism, and everything that Zepeda do. I think exactly like Ringside reporter that he is going to go in here and Gio. Got mad love for Gio and everybody this. Hurt me to say this, but I got to keep it honest. I think Zepeda is going to go in here and like Joe said, it could be a stoppage, but I actually think the punches and bunches and them ones that he can't see is going to send him to the upper room.
Can I update my pick? Can I update my pick? Because like I said, I pride myself in not being a stubborn, thick-headed dude. And listening to IOTBA and Beeb, you know what just flashed in my head thinking about this fight? Manny Pacquiao and Oscar De La Hoya. And I'm not comparing the guys or anything like that, nothing like that. But I'm talking about pure activity and then just not knowing what the hell to do with it. And I can see this being stopped. So I will change my pick. I will co-sign the other two guys, Zepeda by stoppage. Too many factors in there, starting with going head-to-head with Shakur on the same night.
Yep, for sure. I will say just one quick thing. If anything, like if Turki Al-Sheikh was in charge of all this, these cards, the main event would be Shakur Stevenson against Zepeda. right? Like, because that wouldn't that be a better fight to look forward to, right? But instead, we're talking about, is he going to do better than Martin did? Is he going to do better than Cruz did? And we get a lot of those fights before we finally get the fights we want sometimes, right? But I hope it's a good fight. I do think I do agree. Cameron Zepeda should stop him. I know there's a lot of talk about Giovani. He's very tricky. He's this and he's that. But let me tell you something, man. The volume is off the charts. He doesn't stop. Right? It's like those movies where like Jason doesn't stop coming after you. Like he doesn't stop. You can't wait for him to get tired. He doesn't get tired. Okay. He's like, there's not like that. Oh, just wait for him to punch himself out. Doesn't happen. Right. And these guys, when they're trying to get away from him or try to match his volume, it just gets worse for them, like it did for Maxie Hughes. So, and Maxie Hughes is a tricky guy that makes fights ugly, but volume beats all that. I'm just going to say that, okay? With that said, guys, I appreciate the link to the Spit Bucket podcast is on the chat. You guys can go there, subscribe. All right, so, and also Mario's podcast, the link is in the chat as well. Appreciate everybody. This is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing, and happy 4th of July, everybody. See you next Thursday.
Everybody. Have a good night.
Peace.